All right, guys, so welcome back again. I'm going to dive in and just get us kind of up and started here. And so the very first thing that we'll do as we come through is the approval of the agenda. Sarah did a really great job on setting it out. We've got some new items. We've got some business to do. We've got an update. So our first area will really be that approval of the agenda.
The motion. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Perfect. Now the second area is going to be the approval of the meeting minutes. So they're all recorded, they're posted online. And then as part of this update, one of the things we've done is we've done a brief overview. Who is present? Some timestamps of different things that came through in the meeting. And so we've actually got both the full recorded meeting linked and available on YouTube, as well as a set of minutes that Sarah prepared. And so we can have this approval of meeting minutes with the signature on there, scanned and loaded to the website, and help you kind of go back and be like, when did we talk about this? So next would be approval of meeting minutes from 2025. And these are, again, the recorded ones as well as what the chair was on.
The motion to approve. Second.
Second, yeah. Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
I have three things. Okay, I didn't see it on here anywhere, so I'm going to do it now. Oh, call to order and roll call. The very first thing, that was what I was trying to get to. So I'm going to go through roll call here. Please say you're present if you are present. Currently, I'm just double checking with nobody online. And I'm going to go through each of our different members here. So, Cameo.
Here.
Susan.
Here.
Catherine.
Here.
Jack.
Here.
Amber. Todd. Rebecca. Adrianne. Travis. John. Marilyn. David.
Here.
Commissioner Slot. Perfect. Okay. At this point in time, I'm going to hand it over to you. I meant to do that a little bit earlier there. I just got out of order on our roll call, but I'm going to pass it over to you here. We're on point 3 on the agenda.
Okay. Is there any comments from the public? I don't see any public here. Hearing none, we'll move on to number 4, which is old business. There any unfinished business that we?
No, we're doing pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, then new business is the next item on the agenda. And we start with the election of officers for the next.
So for this, I'm going to go back here to our onboard terms. And what we've done is we normally will have a chair and a vice chair that are kind of elected terms. We don't have a secretary because our office is filling in those roles, preparing those minutes. But really the big goal of the chair and the vice chair are to run the meeting, to help assist with gathering together agenda items, and then really kind of working to help see what might be next, kind of coming through these conversations, preparing, making sure that we can share that information out. I like it because I won't put words in your mouth, Kathy, but we've done a really good job on helping support this to the point where it doesn't feel like being chair is an exceptionally large lift. It is running the meeting, it is working with others to prepare agenda items, and it's a sort of thing where in this room, we've got some excellent professionals who can help guide somebody who might be interested through. The biggest thing is, are you able to donate a little bit of extra time, a couple of extra calls for me to walk through this next step? But I mean, Kathy, think about it. We've been on the phone, 5 times in the last year? So it's not a huge push, but there are times where I'll say, hey, this is coming up, I'd really like this. And then the other big thing, it's really nice to have, Kathy's done an amazing job representing the advisory committee in our public tours, in our public processes that we go through, and being there to say, yes, we've got somebody from the advisory committee or what else, Cameo is at almost everyone too. So there's a lot of things to go to that help you learn more and be a better informed person about this. Obviously, you don't have to be chair as well. So I think we would be searching for nominations for a chair and a vice chair. The vice chair would be waiting if the chair was out. We've seen this a couple of times in the past. I think we've had Travis that once and just kind of hit it in there. And usually I'm pretty well aware of how that can happen.
On me, Kathy. I was gonna nominate Todd. It's not.
Do you want to do it?
I mean, you can.
You can accept a nomination, you can politely decline a nomination.
Well, sure. I had a turn, but.
Yeah.
You did good in coming to meetings.
Yeah. Were there anybody else who wanted to do
Anybody else?
nothing?
It's a great fun. You enjoy this stuff. Okay, nominations are closed. Oh, chair, should we vote chair and vice chair separately?
We might be able to do a slate, depending on how many people we have nominated for them. Because right now it's just one person for chair. Okay, Kathy, I'm
Okay.
feeling like you're gonna win this election.
Same. By acclamation. Then I'll entertain nominations for vice chair. I'll nominate Todd.
Okay.
I'll nominate Susan. It's fun.
Well, you know, I think, like you said, Susan's always here. It's helpful.
Okay, all in favor of Susan? Aye.
Are we voting for nomination or?
Let's vote on the slate.
Okay, so we're voting for admin Susan.
Yes.
Chair and vice chair.
Any additional nominations? All in favor of the slate? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Congratulations.
It's always good when nominees do.
No. Great. And Susan, I'll help hear you out. A lot of this is really just a couple of quick emails. Kathy, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love and appreciate some continuity. And I do also appreciate when we can change that. Some of that is, we've got a lot of new members right now. So as we grow, get some people in, we'll have a really great opportunity to go through this next year. And we get to do this conversation again ahead of the federal general election cycle where things get really exciting.
Okay. This campaign.
Yeah, so if you guys look at your package, there's a digital screen front and back. This was born out of a, I guess, conversation during the January meeting where it was identified we had special district elections for off-season elections, and also general low-turnout elections. And we identified that as a problem. We wanted to get more participation and inclusion in that process. And so we kind of identified that we might be having that low turnout because folks aren't familiar with what the position is, what the district or board does, who serves on these boards, and then how those boards or districts impact them in the community. In addition, mailers and ballot instructions are generally underread, especially by younger transient voters, and then in-person outreach is often costly and inconsistent. This proposal, or I guess this agenda item, is more to complement our efforts already and not replace any. So I guess the proposal or the gist of what this is I'm proposing that we put together some type of short form digital media campaign that features interviews with current board members and elected officials in these special district roles. And again, this is all just spitballing, workshopping, getting ideas and soliciting conversation. I was thinking 3 to 5 minute video interviews, portrait photography with short quote cards, and then these would be hosted via county platforms and shared across community channels. With the theme of this being, what does the district board do? Why did the individual choose to serve the community? What do people know? What should people know about this election or this position before they vote on it? And the advice they have to community members who want to get involved. The objectives of why I'm bringing this up today is threefold: to solicit ideas and identify which district and boards we want to prioritize for initial content, figure out who are the strong candidates for interviews, recruit committee support, get other members of the committee assist with outreach, scheduling, interviewing, or their partners through either MCAT, University of Montana, or other nonprofits that we can engage with this. And then also just to reiterate that we're maintaining the nonpartisan integrity of this. It's an information initiative, not advocacy, ensuring that we'll have a diversity of participants across geography, ideology, and identity. And then consider developing a framework for frequently asked questions, clarifying the purpose and kind of the guardrails of this, staying within that just community outreach. I got a projected timeline on there that's subject to a million different changes. A list of potential partners from MCAT through the MPA program at the university, ASUM, and then local media outlets. And then just reiterating the key message that this isn't a political campaign, it's just an effort to make local democracy more visible, available. And more voters that we have that understand what's going on, the more likely they are to vote. And I guess this one is particularly impactful to me. I spent 18 months working with the health department in the environmental health division, and the Sealy Swan area with their lack of sewers and the sewer board kind of tension that was up there. I think a lot of folks in the community, a lot of voters, are unaware of the impact that a single elected representative on these boards can have over a community across generations and decades. And so it really, and even if we don't highlight that specific issue, that's kind of what's motivating my interest in this. And so I guess that is my spiel. But that's what I thought.
I think that really sounds great. I was just also thinking that I don't think people know, does the county need to elevate the whole, besides the election, just what are people doing on these boards? What do we have them for? I mean, yeah. Or why?
Yeah, so before you got in, we were showing them the whole list of every board we have in the county through on board, not just the elected or advisory boards. And so like this could be a great stepping stone in that. Yeah, we'd start with the ones that are really specific towards elections. We've got an amazing communications department. I don't want to add to their workload, but I'm like, if we can get this up and going and we can help get this set up, that may be something where the elections office can help support them being like, we've done this, we know what's going on, and I might not have an airport board be an elected board, but we could help support this across the whole capacity, because when we talk about Sealy Sewer, we were so involved with that because it was a very, very high stakes for the people in the election there. It's so weird. We saw this Sealy Sewer and it was like, I don't have a fish in the river, like whatever that might be, but like it didn't impact us here in Missoula County. The impacts to the community are huge, and what those board members do, how they call for the elections, is the big information that's missing. Your sewer board may ask for this election, and here's how this comes about. So I love this. They did great work on getting this together. I think it could go. I want to say one little tweak that I would recommend is it almost makes sense from my viewpoint to switch this timeline just a little bit and start with the municipals. Now, this becomes just a little bit more challenging because municipal elections are coming forward. Municipal elections are not partisan, but we could work with, gosh, it's not Marty, or Claire T, who is our city clerk. And she is the admin professional that works with the city council people. So instead of having somebody who might be elected, who might bring about feelings, we could work with Dan Clark, local government study group out of Bozeman. So they're the big people who handle local governments, and it could be, this is what a city council person does, because we're gonna be mailing pretty shortly for this election. And the next election, if we started with that, it have a little more. And then we can still do this gearing up because every year we go to school special district elections.
Switch to that. Technical office.
Really like to use it's the word.
And how much? I wanna know who's gonna put this together and how much it will cost.
From a personnel hours perspective, I'm in law school in the MPA program and I have to do buttloads of volunteer stuff. So I would be willing to go out and to interview people and record videos and do the editing on that. I don't know, I guess what other costs we would incur that we already have the infrastructure to disseminate it through our digital platforms that the county already has.
If you guys decide you want to go forward with something like this, we can check in with our communications team, find out what kind of capacity they have, because there's 3 folks that can help us. We have an ongoing working relationship with MCAT and our podcasts. Can very well have the time and space to add some more things. As long as we have enough lead time, we can kind of arrange for that.
I would lean hard on, let's not spend too much for this, but there are great groups. MCAT will record, they will help you with all of the editing. We have a group that we've done all of our other election films. So if you've seen our election integrity films that are on our website about like what an audit is, what a canvas is, there was a professional group that really helped us produce those. And they've offered pro bono work. I waited, I wanted to see where this came to. And so depending on what you guys decide, I can reach out to them. They're 1 acre films. They met the request for qualifications through the county to be able to do this. They recorded election judge video, the integrity videos a few years ago. Loved it so much that they recorded the election judge videos for us pro bono. And I've asked, what else can we do? So this could, there's 2 things. There's 2 viewpoints, and I want you guys to think about this. Those are a little flashy. And flash is not always great. They're very well edited. They're very well recorded. And there's something about, I recorded this on my iPhone and with somebody else that is a little bit more down to earth, a little bit more, this is an advisory committee going out and sharing more information. Both options could be out there and available. And so depending on where you guys go, I could reach out to 1 acre films and coordinate whomever would want to be in this project with that group. And there's a lot of places where I can help set you up for success. So there's a lot of good resources that don't cost money.
Okay, as long as there's somebody who knows something.
Yep.
Putting this together, because people are very sophisticated viewers of such things. And they aren't gonna buy it if it's.
And I would say we would want to get buy-in from the county comms team and do this in partnership. And those folks are super good at this. That's communications is their profession, and it'll be stronger.
Yeah. I just wanted you guys to come up and go and then see where would be the next people. So comms and MCAT and 1 acre have done kind of a lot.
Commission in charge of the boards, like, if you had to do a dictate to the boards, would it be the county commissioners or would it be?
What do you mean?
Because what I'm getting at is, I think we gotta, you or whoever's in charge of the boards should say it is our expectation as the board leader that you either make a video about what your board does or you find something. And, you know, I don't know, but if they hear it from somebody that's, you know, they're supposed to be working with you guys.
So the mission of all these boards is to provide recommendations to the electeds, and your guys' recommendation, and it's a well-formed recommendation here, is that we amp up our outreach to increase voter involvement in these smaller elections. And I'll be speaking for Dave and Juan, but I know them really well, and this would be very well received.
So I just think a little encouragement from you guys, take the leader to the board.
So that's what I'm saying is it should go the other way. Your all's job is to
Okay.
make us recommendations. So you would come to us Say, our recommendation is even more outreach to encourage better voter participation in these cycle
And that
elections.
means you should tell the.
And we'll say, good idea, yeah, but go do it. And if you say, and we need to work with comms, and we think we might have to spend $3,000, we'll most likely are gonna say, that's a great idea, let's do that. And then when comms hears us say, you guys gotta work together, they'll say, okay, we'll make space.
So I guess what I'm getting is, I don't think it's too much to expect the chairman of all, each of these boards to be responsible for trying to get the information out to the board. And I don't know how to tell them that, and I don't know whether, I don't think the elections advisory committee's job is to tell the sewer district chairperson, you need to make a video or find something. So
I have a suggestion.
Okay.
With on board, there's a contact for each board. So if there's a committee that comes together to launch this project of the advisory board, maybe someone on that committee could find the contact info for each of the other boards and just reach out and say, hey, we're doing this project. Would you, as chairman, board contacts for your boards, want to join us and join forces? Because that advisory, all boards are advisory to the commissioners, so it would need to come boards.
And all boards share an issue if they don't often get as many people wanting to be on those boards as we need.
they don't know what we're doing.
We're helping them as much as they're helping us.
Could we, sorry, spitballing ideas, maybe not the best time. Could we leverage that and say CC in the commission and have somebody from the commission be like, we love this idea, we would encourage you to participate. Just to kind of echo and amplify that request from here, like, hey, we love this.
I think that the proper order would be, you guys have this, maybe make a vote on it. Oh, yeah. And then you might be the person that's obviously respecting leadership, but just that you brought forth this idea, that come to an admin meeting and say, hey, we want to do this, we want to get your blessing. And after we nail it down, it might have a budgetary impact, it might not, we'll figure it out, but we'll be back in 6 weeks, we'll let you know, and then we'll all vote, give it a thumbs up, and comms will be aware of it, and we'll just, I don't know.
So that's the portion we can take care of. If you guys decide this is something you want to look forward and go forward for, we can find the times. These admin meetings are meetings of all of the commissions, and it's a chance for us to put forward actual agenda items to the commission. And this would be, if you guys said, yeah, that's something we want to do, we would then basically put together a similar resolution and say to the commission, this is the recommendation that EAC has made. So it would be like the recent work we did where we want to go nonpartisan.
Exactly.
Great. Here is the recommendation to the commission. And then from that, we can really leverage and jump in. To leverage and jump in, sorry guys, let me be a little more clear. We can leverage the commission support, the other departments, and start diving into reaching out to these boards and saying, let's start recording these videos, let's get this together and have a great support team between our comms team, official buy-in from the county. And so that's the next kind of steps to go. 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock, right? 10 o'clock. And they're Tuesdays or Thursdays, so they can be in the middle of the week. We've done this in the past. When it was bylaw changes, we invited in the chair and anybody who had an opinion on the bylaw changes to come to the meeting to present. Because this is a committee of multiple different opinions and viewpoints. And there's some supported the bylaw changes, some didn't. We wanted them all to have an equal chance. So if this went forward, we would look at it, and then we'd start working on when would be a good time to call in a couple of people to present this. Kathy, David, to say, hey, and we'd set it up, walk you through. It's a pretty great process. The commissioners are mean and scary, but not bad, mean and scary. And we'd be there to help you guys present. And those are kind of the steps to making that recommendation and then following through with gaining that support. And that can be, there's a ton of support. When we went through all of the other videos, Tom's was lockstep with us. And so, like, yeah.
We've been trying to ask a question.
Sorry.
I think it's a great idea, but I'm wondering, I noticed like on our YouTube channel and things like that, those videos that you were talking about, they don't get a whole lot of hits. So I'm wondering where this might be promoted. advocate for all this effort, even if there's no money attached to it. It's a lot of effort or something that wouldn't be, it's still time.
Local. Earned promotion in a sense, do a press release. What the strides to do.
Well, we're targeting younger voters, that's one, and
We could
they don't watch the news.
I think the county's been doing a great job. The county, and I guess my experience more so for the counties through Missoula Public Health with Willie, is they've really been hitting Instagram, and some of these other social media platforms, and those videos are getting more views than what the YouTube videos for this does.
So we get great response on Instagram. It's because we have 3 smart accounting accounts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, nobody watches the news.
Yeah.
And depending on the way that these get shaped, depending on how these work, we're gonna do the work we need for us. But Mineral County has a water and sewer district. So depending on what these videos come out like, we need what works for us, but if that video is available and works across the state, we're gonna share it out on our social media. We're gonna share it through the Association of Clerk and Reporters and Election Administrators to say, does this work for you? No, I'm not gonna get a consolidated county city government video because that's not what we have. But if city council and mayor works for you, great. Everybody's got a water sewer board, an irrigation district. I don't know what an irrigation district ditch writer does. Like, I think there's good info in here. And to your point, Susan, some of this we won't see. This has been a big thing for me. Having 400 views on our integrity video may be a good thing. That may be that all of Missoula County does not truly think our elections are rigged and running incorrectly, and they don't need to go and watch this integrity video. So I loved it because I struggled with those metrics so much. And somebody had to reframe it like that for me. And so, yes, what is good? Where can they go? And then how widely could they be shared?
Once this is done, we can work with Montana Association of Counties and with the cities and towns. That's fair to say.
And that's why I really want to get Dan Clark.
Yeah.
From local governments involved is because
For the smaller counties and the smaller cities, those 2 organizations play a huge role in day-to-day functioning. We have staff to do all this stuff. But if you're in Broadwater County without NACO, it's really hard to do your day-to-day visits. So if you're in Cutbank without the league, you're kind of stuck. So those organizations.
You could also reach out to the high schools in the city and county and partner with the local government class there and have it be part of their course content for the kids to watch.
Great.
University.
Yeah.
I just talking to you like the other day, and you said that, like, you didn't, I guess what's it called, an internship going, this internship credit, so this turns into something that takes up too much time. That's support for that.
Yeah, and I've done a few internships in the past. I'd be willing to figure it out and help get it going. These are the sort of years that are way better for an internship than federal general. And so I'm like, just across the board for everybody. I usually say no to an internship in a federal general year, which seems counterintuitive because it's extra support and homework. But it is a lot of work to organize that. And so, yeah, if you like this idea, if you want to go,
And it says right here, form a small working group.
yeah, I think it is voting to see if you want to do it and then establishing potentially a subcommittee to work on this with somebody to be point.
Make a motion to adopt this. Motion to adopt this plan that's been seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All at the same time. Motion carries, yay!
Perfect. So then next steps, I think we should right now see if there's anybody in the room who may be willing to take point on the project. And then maybe send it to everybody because we have about half of our members here for who would be willing to participate in that.
I'm sorry.
Even if we covered it.
I don't know exactly. And so, I mean, reaching out to people potentially for interviews, helping record or edit videos. You know, those are things that I could really see being part of it. Communicating and being that somebody needs to really be a point person to say, like, I will work with you, comms and Bradley, to like help direct all of this. And then I can see the whole group being the groups that record, help edit, and help get that produced in some capacity. Noting that if we do choose to work with somebody like 1 Acre Films, I didn't edit a single thing. And it came out amazing because that's not my wheelhouse and they're professionals in that. Now, I can't speak for anybody because so far we've made the first decision. Yes, project we're looking at going forward for. If we knew and had established a subcommittee, I feel like that's not putting the cart in front of the horse because then we would know who to reach out to and who to work for when we present to the commission. And I would push to getting this done in the next few weeks so that there's not a big lag on this. The hardest part was we talked about it in January and we needed to wait for another meeting.
I'd be willing to take lead on this.
So.
How many people do we think we need on the small group?
Here's my viewpoint. I'd keep it to 4 to keep it manageable. You know what I mean? Because then you've got one person who's gonna really work hard, and then they can be work hard. David, if you're taking point, like you just said, that would be Bradley, okay, when will we permit? When will we present? When can we do this? And when can we get these next steps together? And then it is, David would reach out to 3 others to be like, help me coordinate. But if you get all 8 people, if everybody wanted to do this project, it's gonna be a little bit of extra work to say, okay, well, out of these 40 different groups, we've got X, Y, Z. And for our support, our big priority right now is gonna be the school election we're in the middle of. At the same point in time, we can easily help prepare for a presentation to the commissioner's office. We can pull reports of all of our different committees, but I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. At this point in time, after we create this committee, it should be, we want to present this to the commission. And then from there, the commission will make a ruling recommendation and we can start putting those pieces together.
Others, you think, if there were 4 people, like for an individual, for the next 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Between now and presenting to the commission for approval and adoption countywide, I don't think it would be more than 2 hours between now and then. Once we start getting into production and coordinating with outside assets, and that commitment might make up, but between now and just presenting, I can't imagine it.
I'll help. We will too.
Good job.
Nice.
And I think this is a situation where you should have been at this meeting if you wanted to be in the cool club.
I would like to help. I think it sounds interesting. Yeah, I have a few. I'll be gone for 2 weeks for work at the very end of April. We'll do in the first couple of weeks of May, or like May.
When you guys come to present to us, the advice would be lead with what the problem is, and here's our solution. Then we'll know, why are you doing this? Which is could be the very first question. Why are you going to lead with? Here's the issue. We don't have enough people who want to run for these spots. And people don't understand what they are. And these are elected positions. We're going to solve that problem by doing this. Pretty intense public education. That all said makes sense.
I have a question. At one point, we were talking about putting together a job description, kind of handbooky kind of thing that might have only been 2 pages, but still something to hand to them when they review. Think we put that kind of information in here. I don't think we ever came up with a specific actual document, but that would kind of check both those boxes.
Absolutely. I'm like, I see these being, I love this because we have 2 different viewpoints. Commission and filling these boards, getting everybody in, elections, and I'm like, I just want turnout to go up. I want people to know what a sewer board member does so they feel more likely to vote. Both of these are really successful and do each of those steps. To me, it should be that, yes, these are our boilerplate questions. Is there something else that we want to cover in there? And that's kind of building it in. I see that as being those next steps when we really start to build out scripts, work with comms and say where that comes forward for. Because to me, yes, here's what it's like, and this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna dive in and you're gonna have 3 meetings where you're like, I'm catching up. And then there's gonna be a project that we introduce and you're gonna be like, cool, we're gonna work on increasing turnout and getting more information around the election. And that can be a lot of that handout that like, it's online, we've got this information, and here's what it was like for me to serve. So I think that there's 2, there's what it is, and then there's that personal pitch. Here's what it was like for me. And that's really specifically why I want to work with local government study and potentially a clerk at the school, at the city. Because I don't want it to be outgoing council person X. Here's what it was like for me to serve. And if you didn't like outgoing council person X, you're kind of tainted by the whole thing. So using some more of those continuing bureaucratic positions. The long answer is yes, I think that that would be there.
I think if the job of boards is to advise the commission, then some of the advice that they provided would way of expressing the information or whatever they're doing. Because some of them might just be, yeah, we're the ones who come up with the levy that you put on the ballot every year, so there you go. Or, we're the ones that decided you need to change garbage cans or, I guess.
Well, and that was a lot like when we're interviewing for this. I'm like, here's what the EAC has done. It's done this, and most recently it did this.
Yep.
So that way people kind of get a feel for what that is. And I don't mention that this is over the course of 5 years, so you weren't like bombarded with a ton of work, but then I try to really help say that it's not a huge commitment, but we can get things done. Okay, did we get a good subcommittee?
Got 4 people.
2, 3, 4.
Perfect. I think we voted for it. I think that the next steps will be, I'm gonna share some information with Kathy as the chair, and then David as point on this project. On presenting and preparing for the next thing, and then I'm gonna ask for David to help share it out to everybody else. So that way I'm not getting stuck in the middle of things and sharing part information here, part information there. What else am I missing, Sarah? I love it because Sarah's so good at helping get things on the commissioner's agenda and ready to go that I'm like.
So the third step is begin directing the interview scripts and visuals, and so do we want to give a deadline for?
I would love to have the commissioners say they think this is a good idea as the board. And not too much.
I don't think that. I think it's good gavel. I don't think you'd be wasting.
We're not just kidding.
Yep, okay. So I mean, like, and that can be part of it. David, what that means is that maybe there is a few more hours now. They don't have to be. But in that time frame of getting things together and prepared, I think that you can start kind of coming up with rough ideas for what that may be, sharing them amongst the subcommittee. Here's the reality. When I come up with these grand ideas for something like this, I then send them to our communications team, who are truly experts at this, and they make it better, just a little bit better. So like, if you came up with a good framework, I wouldn't worry about a finished product, but like, these are the questions, this is what we're hoping to understand. Our comms team can probably look at those and make them either simpler or more pointed, or fewer words is always what it is for me.
They tell you to say fewer words.
Yeah, it's just red all over everything. Yep. Guys, this is cool. This is fun.
This is great. It's just the kind of thing.
Just real quick, something that I don't know everybody can, I get your questions, I'm sorry.
Nice, Jack.
Yes. What should we-
Jack, so many chairs.
Yep, send out an email, giving us a still figure out, and then we use that to. Use it to get up there.
You read your emails?
Yeah, always.
I'm finding out there's a lot of people that don't.
Oh, I'm constant.
Very cool stuff. Yeah, good.
Yeah. Did you volunteer for this?
No.
No.
Got it.
Going first that guy. Yeah, I'm over here.
And then I love a committee, a subcommittee. Also, I want to engage others. We'll see where this goes to. We'll see what this grows to. If we are really trying to capture every single board, there's an opportunity for everybody on the EAC to get to work with some interview somewhere.
Well, I think. Go over there.
David, I can help connect you with contacts too, for like MCAT and comms team,
Thank
and
you.
just getting on the PCC schedule. So happy to help there.
One, this one. Squared away for the moment until the subcommittee meets and. That's work for the rest.
It's been great. Nice work on presenting this. Great work on the whole write-up. And, you know, like, guys, this is great. This is the board really kind of following through. Thanks to Sarah for helping me encourage it all to go through all the steps. Like, this is exactly it. This is meeting the goal. Goal is to increase participation and turnout by advising the commission. And I'm like, it doesn't get much more to the letter of what we're trying to do than what we're doing right here. So really appreciate it. I love this. Is great for me.
Okay. The election administrators update.
Yeah, I think we're there. Guys, I'm gonna go through this pretty quick. I got 4 main bills and we did some talk about this and I wanted to just have emails from everybody and I wanted to walk through legislative and what the EAC and the legislature and how this all interacts. I'm really good about sharing information on different bills with you all, but like we just discussed, the goal is to advise the commission and make recommendations to the commission. So I've had some people say, should I testify on this bill? Should I recognize myself as an EAC member? And my response has been, would it be different than our viewpoint from the county? You can always testify on a bill. Please don't recognize yourself as an EAC member because even though you're not representing the whole group, nobody will understand that. And that as we go through this process, most times, the commission and I see eye to eye. There are sometimes they're going through everything and we have a great legislative team. There are some times where I'm so deep into elections legislative that I can help guide them with things that they weren't seeing the same way. But we had a few emails come out about, hey, this bill is coming forward. Do I need to do anything? And it's really, I'm trying to help you all be very well aware of these different rules and bills. No, I don't need anything specific from you, but I want you guys to know in case it's personally important. And I'm now down to 4 main bills that are on my list. I have many more, and I can share them. We went through all of the bills for the very first meeting. Many have died. And a bill to become a law has to go through both chambers. It has to pass out of committee. And we've had many bills that have died in committee or did not meet the required transmittal deadline. So we've narrowed down our 300 bills to 120 bills. And these are the main points that I thought were critically important to get in touch with everybody here. House Bill 182 was the bill that would allow us to pause the tabulation process. And this died in committee. And so while it was being heard, we were testifying in favor of it and they felt like it was not a good idea. Voted to table it in committee. It stays on my list because it's so important. We are asked with doing accurate elections, timely elections, and producing results very early.
And I understand exactly where you're coming from. And I think the county now needs to consider how they handle it, because I think the workers are under a huge amount of stress. And I don't, I think we either need more workers doing the tabulators or more tabulators or something. County, as big as this one is, we ought to be able to come up.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. As we went through this process, this is the first time that we ran a huge election with continuous count that we didn't get a chance to pause. We overestimated what would happen through the overnight. That was the biggest problem that we ran into. Our shift that came in from 3 to 8 a.m. was going to keep us right up, and then the relief shift that came in at 8 a.m. was just going to sweep it up and we were going to be done. Now, turns out that people need to sleep. Many of the people we had called in to work that overnight shift were working at noons from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. They were flipping their schedule to be there to help us get this done. And so these were all the arguments that we made. Here's the reality. We know where this is at. We know what this looks like, and we know that running that overnight shift isn't going to be as successful. So a lot of this is our schedule. And knowing that it may take multiple days to get all of the ballots counted. We don't have more room for more equipment. In that building, you've been in there, Cameo.
And I hear what you're saying, and I feel like that sounds like a pretty lame excuse for not having. I don't know how you guys, but as a member of the public, it sounds like it just doesn't.
The excuse is we don't have space.
Yeah, I mean, if you go in there, you could, I'm just saying, say that to the general public and see if they agree.
And maybe what we need to do is show that with the pictures of it. The problem's dual. It's both people. We either have people go through an experience process of running, like bringing ballots to and from and learning, helping with testing, and then going through a process of becoming an operator. It's as quick as pushing one button correctly to rerunning the election. So I don't want to just put any Joe off the street running that election equipment. We really want to build them up. Then our flow is very specific. Our ballots never cross paths. The one time they did cross paths was the time that we had that error on the election night. We had those 25 ballots that were sealed, that had been run through the machine twice, intermixed, and couldn't get sorted back out. So what we run into is we could look about flipping areas. We could look about what we do for different processes. We worked on something that had been working in the past, requested it, it didn't go forward. We've got a year to plan for that next big federal election. What I know isn't going to work is that 5 teams running from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. is going to keep us caught up. We need to plan and have more than just a relief team coming in at 8 a.m. We need a full election day, the next day at 8 a.m. And that doesn't get you results any quicker, but it does help make sure that they're accurate, because then people have gotten some rest. We can have our relief team be in, run at a very skeleton speed. You can't stop tabulating, but you don't have to tabulate 40,000. And then the next day we can have in people who meet that threshold, meet that area. Every year we're training new people to do it. We also have the most tabulators and the most staff out of anywhere in the state. And we were one of the largest counties that got our results in the fastest at 8 p.m. the following day. Other counties went to Thursday.
So
They were working continuously.
in that, what you're saying, it sounds like we're doing. So where I'm concerned about is our numbers and whether we're making mistakes. And so maybe the schedule is fine. And it really is a matter of figuring out how to take the pressure off the people that are doing it at a different time, or if it's very slow.
And I think that's got to be it. It's got to be known that overnight, we're not going to see results produced. The push was so hard in this election from the state to say, get it done. They ran a competition to see who could get the results in first. We didn't even appreciate the offer. But like what we saw was pretty good. I just think that these overnight shifts We can't count on the production levels like you can on any other shift at any other time. And what we did is we cut it. I was like, boy, these 2 shifts will do half the work of another shift that came in at 6 p.m. and ran till midnight. No. Cut it into like thousands, really plan that that team is going to be here to help keep things going forward. Make sure that we are maintaining the integrity of the election, but counting on that team in the morning. Not a relief team, not 2, 3 people coming in. Every equipment, every person coming in, and then they know they're scheduled, they can get some rest, and then you may come in with 6 hours sleep. But that's better than those people who came in and worked from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. And some of these people we just had to cut. You have not slept. You have to go home. And they didn't want to. We had great dedicated staff. We were like, no, I can keep going. You're still here. And I was like, guess what? If somebody said you could go home, Bradley, we would do that. So with that one, yes, we're not doing bad. We're definitely, we're at the tip of the spear on this. It's just that the reality is we're running short on space. And I think the best thing to do is plan on that next day meeting. If we had 8 people come in the next day to run 4 pieces of equipment, we would finish earlier than we did this last time. So I think we can calibrate it within the schedule.
Do you feel like there are more people out there who can, do this work?
I mean, if there's 7 machines running, we're talking 14 people a shift doing that, but I don't believe there's not more people that could do it.
How much do those machines cost?
Each one, so I just got a quote on them because I'm gonna actually look for a capital improvement because they're so expensive. I think they're at $118,000 a piece now.
We have 5.
So we have 5. And then, that was really our plan, is that we would run 3 of them overnight and then pick back up and have one team finish it out. Overnight doesn't work, so run all 5 the next day, and plan and calibrate from there. The hard part was we found that out live going through this. Oh, you're at the perfect time. If you keep these notes, it's everything.
If, do those large counties agree?
This was hard because every county came in and pushed hard to allow for pausing the process. And so across the board, every county had said, this doesn't work. We need to pause that process.
Not just the large counties.
Not just, oh no, every of the 7 large counties. Some of the other ones are tabulated now by 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, Webo County never has an issue. But we ran into this across the board. Nobody finished as early. We were finishing on par with counties like Lewis and Clark that are not tabulating anywhere near the number of ballots. So we did well. But boy, we wanted to pause that process, have everybody come in and utilize our best people to make sure we were preventing errors. And that bill is dead. So now we're 2. Where do we go? What do we look at? But it just seems so counterintuitive to require that compared to pausing and getting
Is there
results.
a definition of, if you had
The smallest number of people going as slow as
people
possible.
sitting there,
So-
That's back.
There is no defined ballot counting in the definition in Title 13, which is the MCA covering ballot counting. Similar discussions to what you guys are referencing have been had between counties. We'll just leave it there.
okay. Who's causing this bill to die?
There are people who are concerned that if we do not tabulate continuously, it could somehow alter the integrity of the election.
So it's miseducation.
That is definitely one of the reasons. Yep. I mean, we've done a really good job. I don't think people understand that we start the process on Monday and pause the process on Monday. But also, we did not want to lose the ability to start counting ballots on Monday and pause the process on Monday, because otherwise we would be till Friday counting ballots continuously. So we were explaining this, and this is what election administrators try to do. We have safeguards in place. We do this on Monday ahead of the election. This is not new. This was the rules. And what we found is that with the new system, with each of these new circumstances, it really caught us in the last election. And some counties, not Missoula, have run incredibly accurate elections, and due to the ballot tabulation, they had to miss some of their other steps that they would normally do.
And so if we don't, like on Mondays, we usually finish what we have, so we can't count anything else.
Well, it'll tag in a little bit to some of the help that's coming through later. So we'll jump down to skip residency requirements and we'll go to late registration. Here's what's happening. So many voters are voting on election day that we're getting in 10,000 ballots. And that's awesome. Our job is to make voting accessible. One of the things that comes in is that they feel like we're running out of resources towards tabulating ballots, verifying signatures, and other issues. So the Secretary of State's office proposed a bill, Senate Bill 490. It has passed the Senate side, and it is out of the House committee waiting for readings on the House floor. So it's almost done with its process. This bill changes the same day registration deadlines. So it moves it. So just for federal elections, this year it will not impact us at all. There will be different rules for different elections. What it'll do is it will say that we'll run through, and it's currently 8 a.m. until noon the Monday before the election and 7 to 8 on election day. This would change it, and it would be that you're running normal business hours. The Saturday before the election, you must be open from 8 to 5. And then there would be no late registration on Monday, and late registration would reopen from 8 a.m. to noon on election day. Part of the reason that this was recommended is that then the staff that are currently busy serving voters could switch to processing signatures or helping tabulate ballots. So this was a method of relief that came through the Secretary of State's office and the legislature based off of this idea that we're running into a finite level of resources, people, places, staffing, room, all of this. And so this one is hard because it's going to make varying rules for different elections. We have a school election 1 month ahead of the primary election next year. In the school election, we will have the same voter registration we currently have. If this bill is successful, there'll be different rules for the primary election. We operate on Saturdays already. Saturdays are one of our lightest days. And we've shuffled our hours. We're currently running from 10 to 2. And those have been our best hours. We ran from 10 to 4. We ran from 8 to 6, I think, one time. Here's what we run into. We're a college town. We just don't see a ton of people before 10. The other thing we run into is at about 2 o'clock on the Saturday before the election, something's happening at the Washington Grizzlies Stadium. And it lowers the number of people coming to our location. So this bill was put forward with the idea that it would provide similar hours of registration at a different time and provide relief to counties. Missoula County came in and opposed this because the number one time that we're registering and serving voters on election day is from noon until the line is cleared at 8 p.m. So that's our heaviest utilized time. We recommended the state potentially change those hours between Saturday and Tuesday. And this is the bill we have. This is where it's going. It is very likely to become law. This is very similar to other bills that have been passed in the past. I'm almost positive this will see a legal challenge as soon as it's signed. But that's part of it. There is a resource. There is a challenge, and this was an idea to help get relief. You'll always hear me in Missoula County say that we want to get relief. But the way to do that is not to take away voters' ability to cast ballots. It's to give us different technology, funding sources, or materials we need. And so ideally, we could use technology to check signatures and use those people to help register voters or in the county center. There are many opportunities that are out there other than removing the ability for people to cast on election day. So that one's out there. This is likely to become law too. Where we're at with all of these, they're very close to becoming law, except for continuous count.
What would
The legal challenge to that would be that voters have a constitutional right to accessing the ballot, and moving those hours from election day infringes upon their constitutional right. That's one of many that could be, just to be clear. I can't say for sure. Now I wanted to circle back up to one that's really specific for Missoula County and make sure everybody was aware of this, because this is one of the ones I worked on with the county and our legislative team a little bit, because this is so unique to Missoula County. This changes the definition of resident. And what it does is it says an individual may not gain residency in a county or the state of Montana if the individual relocates for temporary purposes, such as work, training, or an educational program, without the intention of making that county or state their permanent home at the conclusion of their temporary relocation. Here's my example. I got recruited to be an election judge while I was in college. It said 2-year commitment on the little handout they gave to everybody, and I looked at my boss now and said, this is cute. I can't do this. I'm a college kid. I don't know where I'm going to be in 2 months, let alone 2 years. And they said, please sign up and serve. We really need people this year for the federal cycle. And next year, if you're not able to, we'll get by without you. That's being in this role, I completely understand that now. You would need to be able to swear on an oath that you intend to make this county or state your permanent home. And then does that change? This has the potential of opening up many voters to frivolous challenges based off of their education and work status. It could be an incredible lift for the county, and it gets confusing. We're already a self-affirming state. Even if you're a student, I'm going to pick on you for just a second. If you plan on being here after you complete your thing,
That was up in the air for a second.
yeah. So how do you sign that at that point in time? And does it change regularly?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. So this is a really unique challenge, and this is something that in a college could be really, really hard.
Does, here it says, without the intention of making that county or the state their permanent home, does the county have higher status than the state? Let's say I'm from Broadus and come to school at Montana and register to go here. I'm going to go back to Broadus. But so if I say I'm going to make the state my home,
We're going to explore clarification and guidance. There may need to be administrative rules written by the Secretary of State as to what that means. So like right now, I can't honestly answer that question. And this is a potential reason that there could be legal challenges to this. As we go through this, I don't know where that sits, but it's such a unique challenge for anybody who is here on a welding training program, anybody who is here going to the university, and it's not very clear. And you don't want to write some of these laws to the point where they are so specific that something changes and then you have to redo the law. But also, this isn't enough for me to operate on. What could constitute a challenge to a voter?
Well, we have hundreds of people registered to vote in the county, been here for 10 or 20 or 30 years.
Yep.
So I guess this doesn't change that. I mean, once you're registered to vote and you say you're a resident, it feels to me that it's never, until you can't get a ballot sent to you, it's got removed.
Yeah. It's like until you go through that NVRA process in some capacity, you're there. And so like, what does this do for clearing up the voter list? Not a lot. I mean, it would be that you could challenge somebody, but then I have to say, Susan, you have been challenged. The reason you have been challenged is that they did not feel that you were here under this circumstance, and it would quote this, and you would have to reply to that challenge. Do you know the group that has to go through all of that work? Us. When it comes to what it does administratively to the election process, it's not a clear rule. It opens up towards, I mean, we were having hundreds and thousands of challenges of blankets coming through. It was not clear, and we had to work with people to say you must challenge individual people for individual rules. You can't say all these people should be ineligible. You can't send me a spreadsheet. You have to fill out the form and have it notarized or signed by an official. My big concern around this is it could cool people from feeling comfortable to register. And it could open it up towards frivolous challenges that we get to deal with, where currently it is based off of the residency requirements that are where do you sleep at night.
I was a soldier for 10 years and I think about like military, right? We constantly moving around for work and that was always difficult for us to get those votes in. That's not a population that we had largely here in Missoula. But I'm thinking about what kind of disparate impact is there on us versus other more rural counties where they're not seeing these types of populations? Like, is this a bill passed to limit Missoula's, like, I guess not looking at the partisan things, but like, does this affect us more than others? Like, this is a pretty contentious vote compared to some of the other ones.
And the military get a unique opportunity through the UOCAPA voting. So there's a couple of separate rules for civilians overseas or military overseas or domestically. This one is going to be very specific on registration. And do you claim your residency? And right now, the easiest way that I'll work with a group that works in parallel, if I'm training somebody on registration, it is, where do you put your head on the pillow when you go to bed? And the reason that's important is there's a house somewhere in between like Broadwater and Three Forks County, and it's literally on the line, and their master bedroom is in the county, and that's where they register to vote. Like, seriously, that's the rule in Montana. This changes this the state. It does not apply if you're here temporarily. So it's more, doesn't impact currently registered voters other than potential challenges. Military always gets their last residence. We still have people registered at houses that got those years ago. Because it was your last residence, it does not exist anymore, but that point on the map is exactly where that was. You're still registered there. So that's just something to watch. We gave that guidance, we gave that, when I was working with our legislative team, they were like, I didn't quite pick up on that. And I was like, yeah, it's really a big challenge, especially around groups that may be working specifically with college students. The concern from us administratively is challenges. Am I gonna get anybody who is registered at Jesse Hall challenged? That's the concerns that we see. And it's the way it's written is a little bit vague. The last one's the date of birth on the affirmation envelope. So this is a challenge because it comes into multiple things. Cameo, she's talking about how do you streamline this? How do you work with this process? One of the big things we're the only county in the state of Montana that has a flap that covers your signature. I have a job tearing the flap off of an envelope before we can process those ballots. We looked at updating and matching the same envelopes of everybody else because that will expedite the process to getting them over to tabulation, to getting us finished sooner. We're looking at anything we can do to increase this, but there's a bill being proposed at the legislature that would require voters to place the date of birth on their affirmation envelope in addition to the date they sign the affirmation envelope. The concerns I have around this are, sometimes voters write the date in the date of birth column on their voter registration form or their date of birth next to the signature line on the date they signed it. This bill has the potential of taking otherwise valid ballots and rejecting them because of this date. We talked about the year as a potential amendment, just your birth year. We talked about the birth year as a potential amendment. We talked about give me for a few years. I'm just going to send you a letter that says you missed this, but I can verify your signature. We talked about removing the date. It's in Montana. I can only accept a ballot if it's received by 8 p.m. on election day, so the date doesn't really matter. Because if it's after 8 p.m. on election day, I can't accept it. If it's the day after election day, you didn't do that because I got it before election day at 8 p.m.
So the purpose of this bill is another verification that's the voter that's filling out the.
Where it would really be helpful is John Smith.
Yeah.
Also, we're verifying their signature. And so that's where it comes into play, but my concern is that the areas where it's helpful compared to the areas where it rejects otherwise valid ballots are pretty high. It takes away our steps we're looking at doing. So the final reason why we would keep a flat if we did this, I now have your name, your date of birth, your signature, your home address, and I'm about one step away from having your whole identity on the internet and opening up 16 credit cards in your name. That's a lot of personally identifiable information.
That's out there, that the other counties don't cover that up.
We're the only county, we really, looked at it, we surveyed our voters, remember, we asked them and they wanted the flag. And we're here to take it away pending this bill. Because we need to expedite our process, because there are other areas of relief that are happening. But I'm not willing to send all of your personal information through the mail, I'm sorry, like, you hear about this where counties are sending LifeLock out because they sent too much personal information. Those are the concerns. These are the bills. I have so many more. There is an ID bill. It is almost like the ID bill from the last legislative session, except for it allows a post-secondary education ID or one that participates in the NCAA, I think it was. And I was like, I don't know what colleges are in the NCAA. I'm going to need a list. The big reason we opposed the last bill that went through on ID was it specifically removes post-secondary ID. This one added it back in. So while we see that being a potential concern, it's not as big of a concern as it was because student ID is not fixed. That's one that didn't make that list. Do you guys have questions? I'm sorry, I went through a lot in here. I've seen some thoughts.
I guess where are we in the legislative process? Like with the residency requirements, late registration and DOB, do we expect those, can we expect those to pass?
Yes, like 3 more weeks left. We have 3 weeks left. They are at the point where they need 2 more votes. So all of these, the date of birth does not have a Senate hearing. This needs 3 more votes. It needs to go forward to the Senate Admin Committee hearing and pass out of committee. And then it needs to be read on the floor. Normally, this is a 3-day process. This legislative session, I'm not going to write anything out. All of these bills have until the last 2 days of the session. Because you could hear this bill and then do both floor votes at the same point in time. So nothing is done until the last 2 days of the session. When will the last 2 days of the session be? Most sessions are 90 days unless there is a proposal to close the session early. And that could change things. But with the 3 weeks left, I expect each of those bills to pass. So that's why I added some of those House votes, just so you could see that breakdown and see the breakdown. Each of these votes for residency, late registration, and reimbursement. I'm sorry, those 2 for residency and late registration with fully party line votes. That tracks over to the makeup of the committees that they got the chamber they will be in, so you can expect similar results in that chamber. Trying to give some information, trying not to get political, walking a fine line, but also trying to help give you guys my ideas of where things could go, just so you know, nothing is done. We can see a lot of many things, but until the last 2 days, any bill that's made it from one chamber to the next is still.
Is the ID thing that the fact that it's different in different counties, is that causing language barrier to happen within the language of the bill, so thereby causing confusion for the public to have knowledge enough to feel confident in their registration to be able to vote pass on this bill.
So the ID bill, which wasn't in here, it is Senate Bill 276. Perfect. And so this bill mirrors the bill that went through, and there was a legal challenge to late registration IDs and ballot collection based on constitutionality and based on the slate of bills. They ran all of those bills together as a slate of bills. Those bills were deemed by district court to not meet Montana's constitution and overruled. This is a similar bill, but specifically this here, there's this change, or a school that is a member of the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletes. That's the very language. Every county would be required to follow this the same. This language here that says, or student photo identification card issued by the University of Montana system is new. That's the difference between the bill we heard in 2023 and this bill. They did not include the university, and that was one of the things that specifically got them in trouble. them being the Secretary of State. I love it. It was even more direct. The fact that it listed just a RIS card was one of the things that really got them in trouble. They've addressed that, and they're doing the work to, they feel that bringing forward ID requirements will increase the integrity of elections. The biggest challenge that was heard across the state was that it didn't include student IDs. They heard that and they updated this law. So the likelihood that this gets challenged in court is exceptionally high. If it follows the same path as the last ID laws, this is a different bill. This is a different law. And this is much more open because student ID is included in whatever that intercollegiate.
I guess that's to keep Sarah from starting the school, making up an ID. You know, it's gotta provide some legitimacy is the reason it's.
It doesn't say private schools. You know.
NAI schools, do you know what NAI schools are? Places like Rocky, College of Great Falls.
Oh, thank you.
Still,
Thank you. I did not know. I did not understand. I thought it was NCAA.
Carroll is probably an NAIA school too. They're traditionally, they are small schools that are not part of the university system. So it would be like Rocky and the College of Great Falls and Carroll.
And so I can see this being helpful specifically for Missoula County with the Salish Kootenai. If there was a tribal ID, a school ID from Salish Kootenai College, does it meet this? And that would be where that would be helpful for Missoula. The number one thing that we see in Missoula is a driver's license. Not having a student ID as an option is out there. We did make sure the Secretary of State knew that new student IDs are only digital. My student ID is just on my phone. I was like, can I get a hard copy because I'm old school? And they said, no. Yeah. Is that what happened? As I was like, spend the $20 to go. So it was just like, we're fine. I can get through the doors I need to get through.
So how? You're saying here, if you have a student ID, that's fine, but over here at Hospital 413, they're saying you can't have residency if you're in school.
Hey, Jim.
Those seem.
well, I mean, also, there's still residency requirements with mental health for 30 days before election day. I mean, there are some rules around it besides just having an ID.
Right, but if you are a student at the university, but you're not attending to make this your permanent resident, so that you have the student ID, but you don't jump through this.
Well, it sounds the same as not being a resident.
But I think our kids are scared, to make those leaps to do that, I mean, there's not a lot of confidence there for them to do that.
Yeah, I'm okay. Girl student knows what they're gonna do next week.
Right, I mean, but there is a lot of confusion from students, because I've been on campus doing voting stuff before, and, a lot of students do get confused about the residency issues.
Well, it's different for emergency, they tuition, versus
The voting, yeah, it's a super confusion, it's one of the most highly asked things.
Sorry, guys. With doing the ballot printing. And I gotta make sure I'm available for her. And guess what? We have 25,000 left to print. So we are applying for it. Did Sarah get your question? I'm sorry, I just jumped right out into that.
Did you get an answer to your question?
I just thought it seemed, in opposition where you're requiring residency or commitment to residency. But if you're a student, you're uncommitted, you still have an ID, so, I mean,
Yep, this
it's
is
just
the nature of making laws. One legislature had this really great idea, one legislator had this really great idea, another one had a different idea, maybe some of these come through the Secretary of State. Date of birth, Secretary of State, late registration, Secretary of State, residency, I don't know. But What's really exciting is when we get two bills that both pass that are contradictory and both get signed. Then you're like, ugh. And so this one, it is. It doesn't totally relate, but they're not fully mutually exclusive. Because the question, I've worked with our legal team, and it's hard to know, but I believe the question will be, when you sign that form, did you intend to make this your permanent area? Now, you should be updating it if you choose not to. But not changing your registration is not against the law. Voting in two locations is against the law, you know? So they don't mesh well, but they're not incompatible.
I don't even know what permanent home means.
None of us are here permanently, yeah.
So it's like, I would have loved to have heard that in the legislature, you know, we're all just in this world for a short time. Part of this is, we will always follow the laws as written. We're doing our job in helping make sure that we understand some of the pitfalls that come in with this, but also this is the way that our citizen legislature functions, makes laws, and it's part of the process. NBRA statistics, I got a big update to this too. So I wanted to give you guys some numbers. I wanted to get some numbers together, and then Sarah asked me a question, so I plugged it in. We got going back through till 2021. 2021, I could not get good data. I reached out to the Secretary of State. Haven't heard back yet, so I used the data I did. When we do this process for national voter registration, this is a process that consists of reaching out to voters. I'm sorry. This is a 4-part process. We will cancel voters that have been inactive for 2 federal general elections. Then we will reach out to voters for one of 2 reasons. So this is that method column. I have 2 reasons I can reach out to a voter, and you will see clearly that some of these things impact the number of people that we're canceling. Based off of if you didn't vote in the last federal general election, or based off of if the address on file with our office doesn't match what's on file with the post office. So not voting is you didn't vote in the last federal. NCOA is your change of address. That's national change of address, is different at the post office than what we have. When we go through, there was a big difference. When we were inactivating people based off of not voting, then when we were inactivating people based off of the mailing address, and then specifically in 2024, there's a huge anomaly. 2024 in January, the voter database was the new voter database to use for this process. And it was not built to the point to be able to do all of the steps. So we were only able to complete one portion of these 2 mailings. The second portion went out after the primary election. And then the inactivations took place after that. What was happening last year is everybody was getting re-registered to vote because it was a federal general presidential year. So the number of voters we inactivated out of that list was lower. It was also one of the last times when we really decided that we weren't going to use NCOA. There were a few times we thought that we would gain more people in these big elections by looking at the change of address than by looking at who didn't vote. I've got 7,000 voters who changed their address and 4,000 who didn't vote. We're alternating every year between those different options. I can never, in an even numbered year, say you didn't vote last year because it's only a municipal election. So you'll always see on the even numbered year, it'll say NCOA, but then on the odd numbered year, it will be not voted. And as we go through this process, we reached out and we canceled 5,000 voters who've been inactive for 2 federal generals. We mailed out just shy of 7,000 postcards on the first postcard mailing. You look at the next postcard mailing, we only received back in about 200 that had been completed by voters. So we're required to send them a second one. At the end of that, we only received about 200 that had been completed by voters. We inactivated the rest of those voters. And this makes sense. We're reaching out to voters who didn't vote in the big show, the federal general presidential. You shouldn't be. If you were here, hopefully we made it easy enough for you to vote. But you shouldn't be here. We should be going through this process, reaching out. And so to me, we have 400 voters who either canceled their registration, let us know that they did move in some capacity, and the rest of them didn't get our mailing because they're fully gone and they need to be. Does that make sense?
So the 6240 that were inactivated are people that didn't respond after to your cards.
Exactly.
These are people that are dead or moved out of the area, they didn't re-register because they don't ever want to go to Missoula again.
Yeah, so they never re-registered somewhere else. Like, if you went to Gallatin County, we pull you out of the database. If you went to Colorado, you have to put in, my previous registration was Missoula, Montana. If they don't do that, they're gonna stay in our database until we do this process. But yeah, all of those people never re-registered anywhere else. We're just on our
Or
list
you didn't put it down where you
or
were.
didn't put it down. So some of them may have re-registered in another state. In the state, we'll find it. It's one database for the whole state. But when you go to another state, since it's not a required field, where did you last register to vote? And there's no national database that every state uses.
There was.
There's some systems, and not every state ever signed in, and then it's called the ERIC system. And I can't remember exactly what it stands for, but that's what it is. It's this big clearinghouse of where voters are registered. People soured a little over the last couple of years, and so I doubt that Montana will sign up for that. It has to happen at the state level. That's like an attorney general, secretary of state's decision. That doesn't come from the counties. And so since there's not that national database, if you registered in Colorado, you were still here until this process goes twice. If you didn't update your information, it's simple as that.
So would you say that the 2024 voter registration was pretty up to date when we sent out ballots? And people voting because
998 that we got inactivated means that we had a ton of people who were on our list. Now remember, it was smaller, just in general.
Yeah, I get that. I just think that 6,200 is a really lot of voters. Out of 80,000.
And the difference is, if you look back, we did the last 3 years as NCOA. Hindsight's 2020. After 2023, I was like, we're gonna start alternating every year because we need to do, my goal with this process is to clear up our list as much as we can. If you are here and you get missed somehow, you can get a ballot on election day, like there's a lot of opportunities for you. You can reactivate in writing, you don't have to come in person, you're considered the eligible elected, there's a lot of different things that you can do. But I want to clear up our list as much as possible because what this means to me is that we're doing this mailing of 75,000 ballots. We've already pulled those 6,200 off. That means 6,200 ballots are not coming back to our office as undeliverable that we know are going to be undeliverable.
So could I request that list of all the people on that 6240?
Yes. You need to do the voter list request because it's got their names. If you want just numbers, it's never an issue. And that's like, I'll put numbers out for everybody. If you want the names, yes, we've got it available and we can run that for you. I'm like, say,
So these inactivated 6,200 folks, they will now be canceled if they don't participate in the next 2 elections. These are the ones that
these ones got inactivated, so they'll be on our list for 2 federal generals. I got both lists, just so you know. I got the canceled. I've got all of those lists. I got canceled, I got mailer 1, mailer 2, and then inactivated. They stay there for 2 federal cycles. And this is, what if we just missed up? What if you just didn't get it in the mail and never responded, but you're here and you want to vote in the future? This is the federal requirement that says you must be on that list, you must be there. And as an inactive voter, if you go to a polling place, you get a regular ballot on election day. So it's important that we count for them. They're counted against you in petitions. Like they're considered an eligible voter. So if the number of petition signatures needed is 58, that's active and inactive, And we do see inactive voters in these federal election cycles. They come in, they reactivate, and then they disappear for 4 years. That's what it's designed for, is to let you be Bradley up in the woods, shows up once every 4 years to vote for president.
Those, or they come back. They're not.
Yeah, forwarding service requested. So if you've got forwarding, it goes out to you. If you don't, it comes back as undeliverable.
So that would be.
Yep, and that's why we look at both. Sorry, everyone. Well, and we're probably closing out projects left and right, is what I'm assuming. And so, yes, Cameo, shoot us an email. Here's, the list request field. Happy to get it for you. Got it saved in, and can show you those people, addresses, all of that information. We will always give out hard numbers. So you'll see reports on the websites from us that are numbers. This is our accepted, our rejected ballots. If you want to know voters, we ask that you submit a list request, because then you're getting their name and address, some of their information. And specifically, it cannot be used for commercial purposes. And that's the biggest thing we're doing, is cover their bases there.
What's the timeline of watching bills? Like, what's, does it look like to you and know like when different changes are gonna be proposed and stuff? So you can follow it. That's like,
You can sign up for updates if you want to follow specific one.
And it's so challenging to know. So here is,
Right.
yep, here, this is the website she's writing for you. Here is the bill. On 3/28, Senate Bill 762 had 16 votes yes, 3 votes no. This is that ID requirement bill. So we know that it has gone from the Senate, been transferred through and heard in the House. This is the House, this is the Senate, and the way I know that is SB is a Senate bill. So it started on the Senate, now it's in the House. It has to get heard on the House floor twice. That's the last 2 days. When are they gonna hear it on the House floor? They are supposed to notice that the day before. What time the day before? I'm not certain. It's been very, very hard to track that. Do you know off the top of your head
Where to track it?
where they would, what time they would notice it the day before?
No.
No.
It's been accident.
Well, there's
He's
been,
good with all those notices.
they haven't necessarily,
They don't have a rule.
or have hit them all of the rules and requirements. So things have been unique. The best thing you can do is that, what is it, bills.ledgemt.gov.
Just ledgemt.gov. There's a calendar on the homepage.
Yep. And like most things are through. All of the bills I flagged for you, with the exception of that first one, can go through those next steps at any point in time. So they're so up in the air. And it's probably gonna happen really fast.
watch it on a daily basis, really.
Yep.
At this point, for sure.
It's so challenging, and it's specific questions or requests. I usually get a little bit of preemptive notice, because we have at the association a legislative liaison. So if it's something big, they'll be like, tomorrow, this is what's coming forward. So if you guys have something that's you want to learn about, know about, I can try to help get you through this. I can't promise, because things are happening so fast at the legislature that I don't want to be like, I know I told you I'd get you that information and I missed it. But I'm happy to work with you on those.
They have recordings of it. So we can stay on the line.
Yeah.
I watched, because after vacation, I watched them the following weeks to see what had happened. And there were some, I mean, there was a bill that allowed disabled voters to return their ballot electronically that Travis testified on from Summit Living. And boy, it was eventful, put it that way.
Electronically, via email, via.
Same as Uocala voters, yeah. And so right now they get their ballot electronically, but they have to print it, fold it, mail it back in. And this is for voters who may be quadriplegic. It can be really hard to do all of those steps. there was a unknown opposition from the Secretary of State that came the same day and said that the portal being used for UACAVA voters is not secure enough and it can't be used for DDRS voters, so we can't pass that bill. And my thought was, make the portal more secure and let everybody vote securely,
Easier solution.
but they voted the bill down instead. And like, it was a challenge because they asked multiple people from the elections office, this is one I'm so glad I wasn't there. Are you going to go on record saying that you are encouraging legislators to vote for a bill that decreases the election security?
You should check your name on the internet because I can guarantee you different days already.
Oh, and it's out there, it's publicly identified, it's public information, and it's also personally identifiable information. So here's the thing. This isn't illegal, asking to do this. My concern with the date of birth is more that I'm gonna reject somebody's valid signature, and they're gonna be upset, and you know what, they're gonna probably turn it in the day of the election, they're not gonna have time to resolve it, and it's gonna be because of that. And you know who they're gonna be mad at? It's not legislator X, it's Sarah Bell. It's like- So, I've gone on quite a bit, we're actually a little over time, I wanna hit a little bit on our upcoming election. We've got a county-wide election, almost every single voter in the county should get a ballot for this. I wanted to point out, because our Lee School District and Florence School District, Mineral, Albertson School District are receiving ballots. Missoula County voters will receive a ballot from Mineral County, Lake County, or Valley County. Similarly, we are running the election for High School District 1. And there are about 8 voters in Lake County that are in High School District 1, and we're gonna mail those Lake County voters a ballot. We do the exact same thing with Frenchtown Fire District. That crosses the county boundary, and since we have more voters, we're gonna mail Mineral County voters ballots. Throughout this, a couple of those messages were Nathan saying, I've got those lists and those ballots are ready to go. This is a common practice. This is a step in the process of developing the database. We will eventually be able to send ballots to those voters on our own. We'll be able to help get all that information together. This is the way we've done it for quite some time. Regina, the election administrator in Valley County, has more voters in Florence Carlton district, so we send her a list of our voters and they track it outside of the voter database. So for this election, we're gonna be tracking 3 districts outside of the database. We'll be looking at Lake County, Mineral County, and then if you are a fire district property owner, you can request a ballot, and we will track those outside of the system. We're printing right now. We're getting our envelopes prepared and ready to go, and our ballot preparation process, putting the ballots, stamping them, and getting them placed in the envelopes to go out in the mail starts next Monday. We're gonna knock that out in about a week and a half. We got like 18 to 20 teams coming in each day to prepare these and get these mailed out. They'll mail on Monday, the 21st. This is an exceptionally tight deadline. School districts have 35 days longer than many other districts to certify their ballot language, withdraw candidates, and place other withdraw candidates or file write-in candidates. We were in the middle of our ballot proofing, and we had to withdraw from one of the districts that changed our ballot styles. So we have to redo our proofs, get them together. So normally, these ballots for a federal election mail 25 days ahead. This is 15 days. It's really tight. So as EAC members, one of the biggest things you can do is say, make sure when you see that, you make an informed decision, you get it in. The other date I have is the last day to mail back, the 29th. Aside from that, we'll have 11 drop locations throughout the community. And we've got all of these different items on the ballot. Did I catch them all? No. I missed our withdrawal. School District 34, the Seeley Lake Elementary School trustee was that withdrawal. I'd already prepped this before that withdrawal happened and I forgot to delete it. But there's gonna be 3 special district elections, levy for rural Frenchtown Rural Fire District trustee and West Valley Community Council member. And then there will be multiple elections for the school districts. There's going to be trustees and levies for School District 1 elementary, trustee and 2 levies for School District 1 high school, a trustee and 2 levies for Hellgate elementary school. Lolo Elementary is going to have a general fund. Potomac's going to have a trustee. Bonner's going to have a general fund and a building reserve levy. Woodman's got a trustee. Target Range has a building reserve levy. And Frenchtown has a trustee and a general fund levy. We got a lot happening in this next upcoming election. This is where I get so excited about what you guys all started this off with. Historically, we're in the midterms on school district elections. Maybe we would get more turnout if people knew what a Frenchtown Rural Fire District Director did. You know, like, here's some of the roles of this different director, and that's my big goal. I love it because Josh is a very unique viewpoint. He builds those boards, makes those appointments. He wants those boards on hold. And I was like, I want turnout higher. They're not mutually exclusive. They work together really well.
That's a different perspective.
Yeah, it's just that different perspective. And I loved it because when he's in here, I'm like, well, don't forget, it also increases turnout and helps inform voters. And I'm like, that's your whole mission statement right there. We got a big election coming forward. We got a bang up team here. This has been really great for me. Nathan and Sarah have been doing pretty much everything, and I'm really pivoting into support of it. We're growing, we're gaining capacity. Hats off to everybody on the team for the work on this election. Questions about the upcoming election? We're getting pretty good at the election portion, you know.
So the drop-off places are gonna be named again, are they all the same, like every polling place? Except for,
They're posted online on the current election tab, but
Okay.
there's 11 locations total. One is this building on election day, and the other is the fairgrounds. Those are both kind of just specific to this office, but then the other 9 are out in the community at the schools to have these levies or city elections on them. So there's one at Hellgate, one at Lolo, Potomac, Bonner, down Lolo covers Woodman, and then Target Range and Frenchtown Fire in the elementary school.
okay. And somebody was asking me when they were gonna start scheduling people. I don't know if you guys know.
They're
I
sent
sent
right now.
email Marjorie and she'll tell me.
I'm like, Marjorie is doing it right now. Yep. And these are ballot drop-off locations only.
Right.
You can't get a ballot there. For these elections that are all by mail, we're gonna keep a roster of every ballot dropped off, so it's a little bit different process. If anybody needs to get a new ballot, they have to come here. If anybody needs to utilize an express voting, because you have to issue a new ballot for it, they must come here. So it's just ballot drop-off, but this is how we get these huge turnout numbers on election day, is make it easy for people to get their ballot in.
Yeah, and so then the opening itself will probably start.
The ballot drops will be open from 7 to 8.
No, I mean the mail-in ballot openings start like the week after the 20th.
Yeah, like reconciliation here. Yep, that will be starting the week after the 21st, the reconciliation, and that is opening them after we check signatures, counting to make sure that there's 1 envelope inside, not 2, not 0. And then sorting and getting them ready, and then right before the election, we'll start opening those and getting them ready to process. And we've just started scheduling all of that. This is where I'm like, everybody's doing an awesome job, and
And you don't know what's going on.
yes, and I'm trying to be very comfortable with that. So we're in the midst of that,
Okay.
and Marjorie is the best person to reach out to, and if they have, she's on it.
So. Kind of the school elections are based for those ballots.
I'm working on that. I'm working on that. Each piece of ballot stock's 12 cents. The print runs about 23 cents to get it printed, folded, prepared, ready to go. The overall cost of the election, if I closed it all out, I would rough this one out to be $190,000 for a countywide election. That's all by mail, at least.
That includes staff
Mhm.
and all the stuff.
Can people opt out of getting those if they know they're not, or is that just too much to keep track?
The
I
only,
mean, I was just thinking, if we were to tell everybody, vote because it's cost the county $2 a person, for every ballot, whether you vote or not, please send it back.
It's like $5 about it.
A voted ballot's cost is so high. Let me see if I have this
Well,
available.
don't tell them that. I'm just thinking. I mean, one of the first things about recycling is don't get it. I
Yeah.
wondered if that's.
Well, and so with this, no, by law, I must send it to the voters in that
Okay.
status. The only thing would be you cancel and then the re-register, and that's such a push for the voters. So no, there's not. Now, who pays? Taxpayers. I will bill school districts, I will bill the fire districts.
Still.
The counties will pay the fire district's portion of the bill, the school districts will pay their portion, who pays all of theirs funding? Us. I'm really big on this because I want to minimize costs. It's all tax dollars. So there's this big aspect where we want to minimize costs and we're looking at this, we want to be accurate, we want to be timely, but it doesn't make sense. If elections cost more, somebody else is paying, we're all paying. If that makes sense. It doesn't matter what I can bill for, because it's still our tax dollars. So like, not just what we bill for it, but trying to keep those costs reasonable. And that's what comes into this, like how many people do you schedule for that period and help figure that out? Because if we're gonna pay them, what are we gonna get done? When does it make sense? Costs don't go down in elections. Postage goes up, printing goes up, and labor goes up. And our number one expense is gonna be printing, number two is gonna be labor, and number three is gonna be postage. And so, yeah, I'll bill each school district individually, but if still look at it, the taxpayers, the state or the county anyway.
Remember back in January, there was a conversation about the schools raising some security concerns about hosting elections there. There was discussion about moving those offsite or finding new places. Is that still in the works or has that been solved?
One is pretty easy for us. We've got a great connection with, what is it, the North Side Community Development Center, which is Burn Street. We've held that polling location there before. Some people who are incredibly involved with the elections office are also on their board. Feel really good about that transition. The other school that has asked us to no longer be in that location is CS Porter. And I have not dove into that one yet. This is the full disclosure on that. It's
So I know that Rebecca suggested the DNRC has a building, a big meeting room, and I found out the Fish Wildlife Park's also in a big meeting. They, let people use all the time for, they got overhead projectors and more than one entrance, like you can go in one door and out the other side, yeah. They just built it because it's like. Good. So anyway,
and those are right in the region. Like that's the biggest problem. Many of the things that I'm looking for in the region, I cannot send those voters to Target Range. It is too far. I also do not want to be directing voters across Reserve Street.
CS Porter.
Yeah, so we drew that
Those are
one in
good.
on Reserve Street so that people wouldn't have to cross it as much as possible. So like some of the things that yeah, Spurgeon would be great, because it's right there. It's in that community. It's not crossing Reserve Street. Now, with that change, the process is pretty straightforward. We would present this, we would go forward, we would relocate that polling location. The precinct would remain the same precinct, or we might update that because to update that, it does require commissioner action. The update would basically be that Target Range 97, those precinct names would become FWP 97 because that's all it is where they go to vote. In my mind, it makes sense to pass the resolution and change the names. In the past, we've done things like Lowell 97 votes at Burn Street, Missoula, because there's only one precinct and that's where it is. It makes sense to change those names, but it's not a drawn out long process. The other thing we would do is if we relocated that polling place, we'd do the same thing that we've done. Your polling place is now XYZ. You will vote there on election day, and if it's easier, sign up to vote on it. But giving them a map, helping them be really well aware. I loved it. That was one of the comments we did not hear. I'm at this school and you're not here. We have great signage, we did a great job of reaching out to voters, but we moved multiple polling locations and thousands of voters in the last cycle. And we weren't taking calls left and right that were like, I'm at Consonate School and you're not here. We sent them the mailer, we had it signed there. It worked pretty well.
It's pretty manageable transition, and you guys got a lot of experience doing this.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We've gotten this opportunity to do it a few times and it gets better every time. So I'm not worried too much about it, but this is a big project we'll want to really start tackling as we gear into that municipal cycle so that it's clear well ahead of any noise around election judge training and recruitment. I want that all cleared out before we hit this like December, January push on that. Guys, I can talk elections as long as you let me go. We are a little bit long. I'm happy to keep answering questions. Happy to hang out a little bit more. Yeah, go ahead.
We talking about building a new centers to resolve the target range, this CS purging.
We're talking about looking for a new building to use, not building a new location.
But, oh, you use somewhere.
Yeah, to
Okay, I
use the
know
building
that.
that's out there. Yeah,
Okay.
because we don't have.
We don't need it.
And like, it's weird, this building, I love it when it's in utilization and when it's not and it's empty, it's really tough and there's 6 of us in this entire campus. So this is something that we want to say, DNRC, FWP, Northside Community Development, can we use your building on election day from 7 to 8, the days before? And it's twice a year. P.S. You're doing the community a big favor.
FWP is pretty nice. I work for the DNRC.
Is the which one's on Spurgeon right there, the brown one?
Spurgeon. The DNRC is the closer one to Reserve.
Okay, and then the other one's over by the ball stadium. There's,
Yeah,
it's not a stadium and there's like, yeah.
they're both on Spurgeon.
So are you gonna take video for it?
I can if you want pictures or anything.
If there's a room out there,
Yeah, I can show you the DNRC conference room. I think Fish, Wildlife and Parks is probably bigger and nicer.
is it?
How's the parking?
About the same, they're all right. Not quite as much as like this parking lot out here. So they have to offer, but they're pretty full. At least the DNRC, I'm not sure about Fish, Wildlife.
And what we run into is that right now, they are parking at CS Border, which has 0 parking. And in the community and other areas, so a lot in and of itself is a huge plus. And then the big show is usually a holiday. A federal general is usually a holiday for many government workers.
This board is like by Goodwill. That
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That one right off of Reserve Street, and the parking is literally all the communities. Anything else from this update? And don't hesitate to follow up more. I just try to be mindful of everyone's time too.
Minutes from the committee. Hearing none. The next meeting will be July 8th. And we get to number 9. Some care to make a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye. Or excused.